A very fresh and a very good morning to one and all present here. Myself Zainab Kagdi from Atmiya Green School, Jadeshwar, Bharuch. We are back with English subject for class 8 and today we will continue the explanation of the exercise that is your reading 2. We have completed understanding the Pocahontas whole lesson. We have even completed reading 1 and we have also completed reading two. Question number first one, we will just have a quick review of question number 1 of reading 2, that is on your page number 69 of your course book. Reading 2, here the question was, this narration brings out the conflict between the Native Americans and the colonists. List the reasons of conflict and how it was resolved. So in the story, the colonists are seen as the outsiders who are in search of fertile lands. They hope to find precious metals and better trading routes to Asia. They settled near the sea for easy access to their ships. However, the land was marshy and the water they drank from the river was muddy and salty. They had little practical experience of farming, food storage, and organized labor. Being ignorant of the ways of survival, they soon ran out of food. These made them trade tools and goods with the Native Americans for food. The Native Americans viewed them with wariness, and frequent clashes with the colonists led to unrest and conflicts. It was resolved by Pocahontas, who tried to understand the problems of the colonists and mediate a solution. So here these Native Americans and colonists, they had a constant conflict, correct? We saw in throughout the lesson Pocahontas, that how Pocahontas used to convince her father about understanding the problems of English colonists and to provide them food in against tools. So this was the answer number 1 of your reading 2. Moving on to question number 2 of reading 2. Question number 2 is, what do you think of the settlers who sailed thousands of miles away to unknown lands in the 17th century, where when travel and communication, healthcare, etc., were not very advanced as today? What difficulties do you think they faced? So here, what do you think of the settlers who sailed thousands of miles away to unknown lands in the 17th century, when travel and communication, healthcare, etc. was not advanced as today? So what do you think that how these settlers used to think? How do settlers used to survive in such a strange land? Yeah, the answers may vary. So this is a sample answer. I think that sea voyages were extremely dangerous. What is sea voyages? Voyages means journey. Sorry. Voyages means journeys. So I think that the sea voyages are extremely dangerous, lack of proper technology and ignorant of agriculture methods made life difficult for the early settlers. They also had no prior knowledge of the landscape of the area they were traveling to and thus succumbed to floods, famine, and diseases. Not all lands are arable, and they must have found it difficult to grow crops. Not knowing the language of the Native Americans was also a severe drawback and led to misunderstandings. Question number 3 says, so here the answer means that it is very difficult for the early settlers as they do not know about the landscape, how the land is, how they are surviving there, how this tribal area would react to their arrival. They faced a very difficult time, and time. And these Native Americans even did not know the language of these people, so that they can communicate regarding what their wants and their needs. So they had severe drawbacks, and that led to many misunderstandings, as you have seen in the story that Captain John Smith used to Captain Smith used to give compass as a gesture, as a gift, but these tribal people thought that he's doing some kind of magic, black magic, and he's doing some kind of magic, and it is going to kill the tribal people. So such kind of misunderstandings can occur due to lack of their native knowledge. Moving on to question number 3, the memory of Pocahontas is honored with a life sized bronze statue at George Church in Kent. You have been invited to write an epitaph. Now, what is epitaph? It is words written about a person on their gravestone. So, on the gravestone, when whatever words are inscribed on it, it is called epitaph. So, you're supposed to write an epitaph for these lady in about 50 words to be engraved under the statue. So if you open a book on page number 69, you will see that there is a picture on the right hand side, that is a statue, and beneath it there is some place in which you need to write something about that particular person under the statue. Then write that epitaph. So here lies, so this is the answer to it. Here lies Pocahontas, the princess of peace. She worked tirelessly to cease wars between Native Americans and the English. She will be fondly remembered as the herald of a new age of peace. So this can be the lines. You can also write different lines dedicating to Pocahontas. So you need to write it on your own. Moving on to vocabulary, you're having very fun activity. Read the clues and complete the crossword. Okay, so first across we will see. Second one is a sum of money demanded or paid for the release of a captive. So it is called ransom. Number fifth is people who are being held against their will. They are called captives. From the place or environment in which a person was born or a thing came into being is called native. People who reside in a new colony or a country is called settlers. Number 10, the act of taking control of an area that is not yours and governing it is called colonization. 11th one, the act of changing one's beliefs or religion is called converting. So here this was the across words which you need to identify. Second is downwards. That is the usual way of doing things is called customs. Number 3, soft shoes with no heel has large stitches around the front is called moccasins. Then fourth we have a group of people including many families, clans or generations is called tribe. Someone who represents or brings messages from another person is called ambassador. Seventh is relating to a population subgroup within a larger or dominant national or cultural group with a common national or cultural tradition is called ethnic. So here these are the answers of your vocabulary on page number 70 for your lesson Pocahontas. Moving on to a very important topic, that is active voice and passive voice. So here I'll quickly make you understand what is active voice and what is passive voice. In the textbook, if you open up, you will face read the sentences given below. So I'll just show the picture. So here on the screen you can see active voice and passive voice. So read the sentences given below. All man would be guaranteed the rights of life, liberty and happiness. So here all man would be guaranteed the rights of life, liberty and happiness. And question 2 says, Sentence 2 says, many promises were made to us, but most haven't been kept. Okay. Does the first sentence tell us who had guaranteed all men the rights of life, liberty, and happiness? No. Correct. Does the second sentence tell us who had made the promises? These sentences use the passive voice. The performer of the action is either unknown or mentioned at the end of the sentence. So, here in the first and second sentence, you can see that the performer of the action, that means the person who promises or the person who guarantees the rights of life, liberty, and happiness, are unknown or may be mentioned at the end of the sentences. Such voice is called passive voice. Okay, here we are having the table. Look at the following table to learn how active voice is changed into passive voice in different tenses. So here we can observe different tenses, how do they change. For example, if it is present, simple present tense, then he teaches maths. So here the letters es is simple, correct? It's a simple verb, teaches. Then how will this will turn into passive voice? Maths is taught by him. So dear students, if you can see what can be done, here you see that he is a subject, teaches is a verb, sentence is he teaches maths. He is a subject, teaches is a verb, and maths is an object. Correct? So, how do the active turns into passive? You can see that the object comes in the place of, here we have subject, verb, and object. Object will go on the place of subject. You can see the maths came first. Subject goes in the place of object. That you can see that he was a subject, he went at the last, that means him. And taught, taught is a verb. Then taught, teaches turned into taught, that means simple present turned into simple past. You can see taught, this is used in simple past. So this is how it is changed. This is how it is changed. You can see that maths, that was an object, came first, the subject went at the last, and the verb will turn into simple past, that is teaches turned into taught. So that is why when we convert from active to passive, we have these for structure. That is, first we had subject, object, subject, verb, and object, correct? He teaches maths. Now it will change opposite. That means first object will come in passive voice. In active voice we have subject, verb, object. In passive voice we have object, verb, and subject. So this is the structural formation of your how to convert active voice into passive voice. Maths is taught by him. Similarly, if we go to the next, that is continuous tense. He is teaching maths. Again, he is a subject. He is a subject. Teaching is a verb. Subject. Teaching is a verb. Maths is an object. And again, object came first. Maths is teaching turned into is being taught, as it is a continuous tense. You can see the ing. When there is a ing form of the verb, it is a continuous tense. Then teaching will turn into taught, and as it is teaching, it will turn being taught by him. So here you need to remember that you have to put by in the passive voice. If you want to identify that the sentence is active voice or passive voice, in passive voice we always have to use by. You can see here. Okay. Majorly in all the passive voice we have by. Okay. Moving on to third, present perfect tense. He has taught maths. So here the word has indicates that it is a perfect tense. He has will turn into has been. Maths has been taught by him. So he turned into him. Here again we have to use by him. Okay, then has taught will turn into has been. That means in perfect tense, in present perfect tense, has will turn into has been. Again, maths, that was an object. It comes in the first place, that is in the place of subject, that is maths has been taught by him. Moving on to present perfect continuous, he has been. Here the words has been suggests it is a perfect continuous tense. He is a subject, has been is a word, has been teaching is a verb, and maths is an object. So here no passive voice will be there for present perfect continuous tense. Moving on to past, simple past, he taught maths. So again we will see this. He taught maths. So here you can see he is a subject, taught is a verb, and maths is an object. So here again in passive voice we will change the position of subject and object. So again he taught maths, in which object maths will come forward. That is, you can see in the answer, maths came first. Maths was taught. Again simple past will convert into simple past only. So was taught. He was taught. Maths was taught by him. Again you have to put by and him. Moving on to past continuous tense, he was teaching maths. He is a subject, was teaching, so it is a continuous tense. As you can see, ing form, that is was teaching maths. So maths was being. So in the first also we saw here, when there is a ing form of the verb, we need to use being. So here was being taught by him. Moving on to past perfect tense, he had. So had will turn into had been. He had been taught by him. Sorry, maths had been taught by him. And again, past perfect continuous, he had been teaching maths. So no passive form. So here you can see that in present perfect continuous, in past perfect continuous, and in future perfect continuous, there will be no passive voice. Moving on to future, that is simple future, he will teach. So here the word will and shall suggests it is a future tense. The word will or shall. These two words suggest it is a future tense. He will teach maths. Maths will be taught by him. So will turn into will be. Again you can see that he, that is a subject, went last, and object, that is maths, came first in the passive voice. So maths will turn into will be, teach will turn into taught. Maths will be taught by him. Same way, future continuous tense, he will be teaching maths. There will be no passive voice. For future perfect tense, he will have taught maths. Maths will have been. So will turn into will have been. Sorry. Will have been taught by him. Again, do not forget to use the word by. By. Moving to present future perfect continuous, he will have been teaching maths. There will be no passive voice. So I'll request students to to learn these whole, sorry, to learn this whole table by heart. Understand it by heart, okay? Here we'll end up our session with this note. The passive voice calls attention to the action and the receiver of the action rather than the performer. In other words, it points to the action and the receiver of the action while the performer is unknown or unimportant. So here I'll request you to study this table in order to understand it in a more better way. So kindly read page number 71 and 72 of your workbook. Sorry, of your textbook. So that you can understand active and passive voice more nicely. Then you can even do in the exercise, that is, you can see here this exercise by your own. You can try it at home. We will discuss it in our next video.